Hi there, I am Stacy Phillips, and I am so excited to kick off season 1 of my podcast, Stacy Phillips and Friends, or as we like to say, keeping it real with non-housewives. No slight to real housewives, we really love you. Everybody needs a housewife in their life. Each week we will step into my wardrobe, literally one of my closets, where one of my nearest and dearest friends and confidants will fill this chair next to me as my co-host to chat a little bit about life and a lot about women empowering women. Together, we will have a gap session with just us gal pals, a deep dive for the dish, a convo among co-eds, and then our big feature presentation, the special guest interview, or what I call the SGI. But first, move over, Andy Cohn, with your mazel of the day, because at Stacy Phillips and Friends, we will bump it up a notch or 3 as we Kibbitz, Kvetch, and Kvell, the best 5 minutes of commenting, complaining, and crowing. And because I am a divorce attorney, my producer, George, will drop in to spend a few minutes of each show talking about a high-profile relationship in the news. So welcome to Stacy Phillips and Friends. Let's keep it real. Hi again, I'm Stacy, and welcome to Stacy Phillips and Friends, or as we like to say, keeping it real with non-housewives. My co-host today is my friend and bestie, Dr. Taryn Rose. Taryn, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
So Taryn is a classically trained, highly trained orthopedic surgeon, trained with the best. I know because I've been to some of the doctors she trained with, who brought comfortable fashion to the world of luxury shoes. She decided that professional women should have attractive shoes, luxury shoes, but that didn't kill your feet. So let me just show you as an example. Here's one of her slides made specifically for me. I literally planned my outfit today around her shoe. Love it, love it, love it. So with a huge following from professional women, very specifically doctors is a very high following, and adored by Oprah, Taryn Rose has brought brand recognition and is credited with originating the luxury comfort footwear market. So it's Taryn Rose and more recently Enrico Queenie. That's what I'm wearing. So welcome to my closet, T.
I am so excited to be here. And can I say, I love your outfit. Like, that is fabulous. And you told me before we started that this is 15 years old.
15 or 20 years old. Yeah.
Wow. So you see, when you buy quality and you buy timeless pieces, and I considered leather timeless.
I agree.
and so I think it's so fabulous that you have the taste that endures.
And your shoes, your booties, your slides. I mean, I've had them for, over a decade now?
Yeah, yes.
Since Enrico Queenie started?
Yes, it's been 10 years.
And I was there on the ground floor.
Yep.
And I love my shoes. I love my Enrico Queenie shoes. So the way this started in my closet many, many years ago, a group of my besties and I, when we would need to talk about something serious, our kids, our husband types were downstairs, we would come up to my closet and sit on the floor and really talk about real things and really bond and help each other. That's what we were there to do for each other. And then one would put something out and say, okay, I want to borrow this. Can I borrow that? And that's how we came up with this idea to have this conversation in my closet. So, Taryn, who are some of your fashion designers you're loving these days? I know it's McQueen because I have the same jacket.
I pretty much wear McQueen most of the time if I'm going to dress up in designer. And then I love Zara pieces too. So I mix and match. I think Dior is wonderful. And I just have one kvetch about Dior. It's hard to find my size. You're petite, tiny, size 2. Like I don't have anything in that is a 2 in my size. Like,
but the look is you.
So I would just say, Dior, can you please make some larger sizes? But other than that, I think that they are doing really beautiful pieces, and I covet them.
Yes, I wear Dior, McQueen, Acris, and then big plug for my friend Frank and Eileen from Audrey McLaughlin, hanging over there, hanging in another closet. And I like to mix and match with hers and the higher designers. That's what makes it fun.
Exactly. And then you throw on just the right accessories, the shoes,
right
the bags,
shoes.
And everything works.
Yep. Maybe your next line is purses. Anyway, I could hear my producers in my ears telling me it's time to get going on our Kibbitz, Kvetch, and Kvell. So let me explain. To Kibbitz is to chatter, to gossip. I don't like gossip. To Kvetch is to complain. And to Kvell, as my dad would say, is to bust your button. So what do you want to Kibbitz over today or Kvell over today? Let's skip the Kvetch.
Well, it's all sort of a combination. I want to Kvell about my two sons, Peter and Milo. I'm so proud of them. They're just amazing young men.
I agree.
And but I have to tell you that we went through, some tough years as they were teenagers and boys, and their father died during the middle of the pandemic. So it wasn't easy. And, I'm so proud that Peter got acceptance to University of Michigan and USC, my alma mater. And my other son, Milo, he is going to UC Irvine. He got into SB's, SD. He's waitlisted at UCLA. So if anybody has any connections out there, Wallace, because he doesn't really want to move from home.
And Peter got into NYU also.
Not yet.
Oh,
We're
okay.
still waiting to hear. So, my little kvetch is that they accepted the wrong kid at USC because Milo really wants to go there. But, life happens. And I want to just reassure all of the parents out there, the moms, we're only as happy as our least happy kid, right? So what I told both my boys was that it's okay if you're not on the traditional path. Both of you, I feel, need a bit more time to mature, to get your groove. So I said, go to community college for a couple of years. Milo went 2 years, and, he went from making C's and D's in high school to now having a 3.7 GPA, and he's really getting into the school. Peter, he got into colleges right away. His GPA was better, but he wasn't excited about any of the colleges he got into right away. So I said, go to a community college and reapply and get excited, because regardless, it's a $50,000 minimum investment. You should be excited. So that's my hack also for those of you worried about a budget. Do the community college thing. You save a year or 2 years of the high tuition. So, I think it's a good way, and you don't need to get into the whole hype about, they have to get in immediately. And I think especially for boys, it's important to give them a bit more time
to grow up. And
yeah.
As I often say, we plan, God laughs. So, where they end up in college is where they really should be. And if not, then they'll apply again.
Yeah.
And I can say that Milo rescued me when I had a flat tire, and he came to my rescue to help fill up the tire until I could get it replaced. Big hunk driving up on his motorcycle. Oh, steal my heart. I've known him, both boys, since they were little kids.
Yeah, so we're very proud, and we also want to share with others that it's okay if someone doesn't go on the more traditional path. There's so many ways to get to the end, and at the end of the day, they're just going to ask where you graduated from, right?
Good point. So, do I hear the sound of crying, or is it laughing? Better turn the sound up, because it's time for our relationship roundup.
Okay, so today, Relationship Roundup is Joe Jonas and Stormy Bree have broken up, not to be confused with Stormy Daniels. They were first spotted together in January in Aspen, skiing together. They've been kind of photographed a lot together while they were together on vacation sort of vibes. I don't know what that really means. Maybe he was just kind of taking her around the world with him on his tour. She was probably swept up in that kind of lifestyle. Fun fact, I actually saw them having dinner together when I went out in West Hollywood a couple weeks ago. So as of a few weeks ago.
And they were not canoodling?
They were having dinner together in the back of the restaurant, very.
Which place is this?
I don't remember the name of it, but it was really good. I know. I'll have to find the name. I was looking through my text to find it, but I can't remember what it is. So, Joe Jonas, heartbreaker out on the loose, I guess, now that.
All those fans are just tripping over themselves.
Yeah. Well, he dated Taylor Swift.
Well, Taylor is a serial monogamous, but she seems to have found the right one now.
Yes.
Go Taylor.
She's got her big hunk, right?
Yes, she does. A true hunk. And she's petite.
Yeah. So,
She's tall.
she's
But
a tall but
But she's
slim.
slender.
She's slender. By the way, do you think Stormy is now going to be a popular baby name?
Yeah.
Or is
Okay.
that
Well, Kylie Jenner's daughter's name is.
really? That seems like it. I don't know if I would want like
It's a
Dormy. That's
not a good connotation. Not
Yeah.
for us.
She's a hero now.
right,
Well, Stormy
right.
Daniels we love. Yeah, she's a girl now. But I think Kylie's daughter's name is Stormi, as
Okay.
was Joe Jonas's ex. And
Okay.
Stormy Daniels is STORMEY.
Right?
M-Y.
STROMY.
Yeah, it's more literal.
Okay. Interesting. It's not her choice. It's her parents, unless she changed her name.
Right.
Well, it's
right.
interesting that Joe is kind of the heartbreaker out there because his brothers are married, very monogamous. Kevin has been with his wife for forever. They had that reality show. And then, Nick and Priyanka
Mhm.
are together. But Joe's always just like,
He's got to find his groove that Taryn was talking about. Sometimes
Right.
it takes him a little bit longer. I hope he gets it right, because finding love is, to me, what life is all about.
Totally. And he's a handsome guy. So
He's adorable.
he's a talented king. We love him. Good luck to Joe out there. I'm sure he'll be just fine, though.
Yeah. But money doesn't give you everything.
Well, but money.
It helps.
Well, yeah,
A six-pack abs. I'm sure he'll be good.
he's going to do just fine.
Yes, he will. So now it's time for our special guest interview, SGI. And this week we are very excited to spend some time today with Zandara Kennedy. Wow. I'd call Zandara a rock star, but she's a race car driver and stunt woman. Talk about breaking barriers. So Zandara, meet my bestie, Taryn Rose.
Hey, Zandara. When
Kennedy.
I read the script, I thought, Zendaya's here? Do you get that a lot?
I do now, only since she's become so popular. But before, no one could pronounce my name at all. Now they call me Zendaya, which, all right, I'll take it.
So you've spent your career as a stunt woman, crashing, falling, burning, things that scare me half to death. But from what I understand, you truly excel behind the wheel. Something else that scares me half to death. So you work with Racing Pride and Athlete Ally, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
To promote diversity of all kinds in motorsports. So you've been trained by some of the best driving schools across North America. You've earned your Formula Drift Pro Spec license. I didn't know there was such a thing in 2021 in the pandemic. And for 2024, let's go back a second. And then you got your first Canadian woman to compete in professional drifting in 2023. I do want to talk about drifting. And now in 2024, you'll be expanding the Women of FD program to include 4 rounds across North America, as well as spearheading some new initiatives outside of the Formula Drift space. So talk about diversity, women's leadership and talent, a true triple threat, quadruple threat. We are going to learn a lot today from you. So tell us about drifting.
So drifting is the thing that just lights my heart on fire, is the best way I can say it. Drifting is not like every other traditional motorsport in that it's not a timed event. It is basically head-to-head battles. The goal is to complete the course as aggressively as possible. The car has to be in oversteer the whole time, so the rear wheels are spinning really quickly, the tires are smoking, and then your goal is to chase another driver as closely as possible, emulating their line. Frequently, you can't see anything because their tires are smoking, your tires are smoking. It's a very short, condensed, all adrenaline version of motorsport, and it is just so much fun.
By the way, my son took my new Tesla out drifting, and he came home and said, "We need new tires, Mom." And now I know why. Because I said, "What are you doing? We just got this car."
So is the goal to knock them off the course?
No.
No. So the goal basically, when you're in the lead position, the goal is to complete the course that the judges have set out as perfectly as possible. So the judges set out a series of outer zones where the back end of your car should be as close to them as possible, and then inner clips where the nose of your car should be as close to them as possible. When you're leading, you do the perfect line. When you're following, you emulate the other driver as closely as possible, as close to them as possible. So that definitely includes like rubbing their door, but you can't take them off course.
And if you go a little too much, you end up crashing, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, definitely damage. Small and large impacts are a part of the sport, although most of the drivers are extremely skilled. So we damage the cars, but usually not irreparably. And we do have what's called a 5-minute call that once in competition, you can repair the car for 5 minutes total, which you'd be surprised. They've had people replace entire corners of cars within that 5-minute window.
Wow. Is this sort of like bumper cars on ultimate steroids? I mean, that's what you do with bumper cars. You bang into each other.
You did. The goal ultimately here with drifting is not to bump into the cars unnecessarily. It is a showcase of really high level car control. And
so it's a finesse
Formula Drift
sport.
itself is...
It's a finesse.
It's definitely a precision sport. It is a high speed, high adrenaline sport, but the ultimate goal is high level driving, not just carnage for no reason, if that makes sense.
So most kids don't grow up dreaming about being a stunt woman or a race car driver. So how did this come about?
Well, I'll throw a third thing in there. When I grew up, I wanted to be a circus performer. So I used to do trampoline and circus and contortion when I was a kid. And then I got a driver's license and a motorcycle license. And someone introduced me to a stuntman. And I was like, that's a job? I could do that for a job. And that's sort of how I started down the path. I started really aggressively pursuing stunts and training to be better at stunts. And that's how my driving career started. When I was 18, I took my first driving course actually in Los Angeles at Rick Siemens Motion Picture Driving Clinic, which is just north of LA. And everything just started from there. I kept trying to get better and better and better. I took a drifting class, and that was it for me. I
fell in love.
I just kept going. Yes, love it. Love it first slide, I guess.
So you like risky sports?
Yes, I like working at the edge of my skill set. I like having to work hard to be in control.
When you were interested in the circus, were you like tightrope or trapeze or what? Because you're...
So I was a small child, so I was always at the top of the pyramids. I loved being in the air. You know, I liked the trust element, and that's sort of carried through both with stunts and with motorsport. I'm behind the wheel, but I rely on a whole team of people to make my car perform at its best and to keep me safe.
Wow. And being a woman in a man's industry, kudos to you. I really think that's pretty terrific. By the way, you're in my closet. I don't know if you realize that. But
I love that.
It's a place where we talk about things that are serious and fun and being around great fashion, which is how Taryn and I met in the dressing room in Neiman Marcus. And we're both very significant career women. I'm a divorce lawyer. Taryn is an orthopedic surgeon by training and has developed 2 shoe lines, which is why I'm wearing her slide.
And I've always wanted
lovely.
to make driving shoes because I find the world very fascinating.
You know, we actually should talk about that because there's only a few companies that make them, and they don't make them for women with tiny feet. They make them for men, and they make a men's version, you know, up to a small women's size. But
yeah,
I'd love to see something that was tailored for a woman and designed with women
that's
in mind.
exactly what we do is custom made shoes to fit women who have sizes. I mean, for all women, but the women that come to us tend to have problems finding things on the market. And it's very common for companies to basically assume that women are just miniature men, and we're not. Our proportions are different. We have a wider forefoot and a narrower heel in proportion, and we have flatter volume and a higher arch. So I assume you need a lot of good contact with the pedal and for that precision that you need. So it's super important not to lose any contact between yourself and the shoe and the pedal. So I'd love to talk to you because I find those things fascinating.
Yes, please.
Even though
Yes,
I'm a divorce
please.
lawyer, I prefer to make matches. So I'm Kvelling here, which is part of what this is all about, busting my buttons. So as a woman in a man's sport, I know what I've experienced. I know what Taryn's experienced, the discrimination being a woman in a man's field. Are you able to share some of your war stories of being a high-performance woman in a typical man's world?
Yeah, I will say that a lot of my best supporters have also been men, and I don't want to take anything away from them because a lot of the men in my past helped me both get to the point that I did in my career as a stunt woman and have really supported my racing. But I do find, especially in these spaces, that it's not easy to see the path to get into them. And when I started competing in Formula Drift, I looked around and I didn't see very many women in the space. I didn't experience any outright, rejection or discrimination, but I didn't see women around, and I wanted to kind of know why. I met a few incredible women in the space, and that's part of why I started the program that I did at Formula Drift called the Women of FD Tour, where I take women of all ages who are curious about motorsport or careers in motorsport behind the scene to see the women who are already excelling at it. I don't feel that the path is clearly lit or the opportunities are obvious for women, and I think that's a big obstacle.
Yes, if you can't see it, you can't be it, right? So it's so important what
Exactly.
you're doing to spearhead and sort of, knock things out of the way for the generations behind you.
I think the biggest thing that's shocking for me is the men that get so upset at the fact that I'm doing these programs. That's the biggest thing that's shocked me. I've experienced so much support, and so many men have contacted me to say, how can I help? But there's so many who are like, why is this necessary? We should have a men's only day or whatever. And I don't think they can even understand what the barriers are that women are facing because they've never experienced them. And I think that's a big problem.
So what else do you do other than all the litany of things you do professionally? Your personal life, dating, family, fur family. My Hurley, my rescue dog, is the love of my life. Sorry, kid. Sorry, boyfriend.
Well, I have two incredible dogs that I love very much and that are with me whenever I'm not actively racing. Right now, I am the owner of my race team, so I manage the team. I manage all the marketing, all of the sponsorship obligations, as well as the travel. And also I work on my car quite a lot. It doesn't leave a ton of time for dating, I will say, which is a bit of a downside to this particular lifestyle. But hopefully by bringing more women into the space, that can change.
Yes, so that you have a full life. And thank you for giving it back. I think that's really, really important. I know for me, I did not have a lot of role models. And it's been really important to me to mentor younger women lawyers so that they have more of a role model. So one of the questions that we ask each of our guests, if you were not in the career that you are in and you had to do it all over, what would you choose, or would you choose the same thing?
It's a question I ask myself a lot because it is quite a hard choice that I've made. Stunts, I worked very hard to get where I did, but it happened a little bit earlier in my life, right? Making this decision to suddenly become a professional race car driver when I have, it's really hard. And I often go, what would I do anything differently if I knew what I know now? And in a way, I'm sort of glad that I didn't know exactly how hard it would be because it enabled me to make the commitment at a time when I was going to go all in. And now I have to see it through. Would I do something else? I'd love to be a helicopter pilot.
Well,
Or the other day, a friend of
helicopter
mine.
stunts, although they're dangerous.
There's a few dangerous. Helicopters are definitely on the top list of, I would say, the most dangerous stunts
Well,
that you can
how
do.
about a 747? I know United is hiring.
I would love to fly. I definitely would love to fly. The other day, someone asked me, like, I'm surprised you're not an astronaut. And, I just sort of off the cuff said, well, I'm too old to become an astronaut now. But I was just in Orlando hosting one of my women's tours, and we tried to go watch a shuttle launch. And I looked at the two astronauts that were on the shuttle, I guess. And the woman who's on that shuttle is 58 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, and it just really brought home for me, even now, the things that maybe not because I'm a woman or because I'm gay, but because of my age, I think certain things are done for me. They're not an option for me. And just seeing that she was doing that made me go, oh, maybe I could do that. And it opened my eyes again. Again, if you can see it, you can be it. And I just love that.
That's fantastic.
So maybe I'll be an
I
astronaut
have
next.
1 year to get ready.
I believe in you. You've got it.
But you got to come too.
So,
all right.
All right, deal.
So tell us about your coming out experience.
So I was lucky to have a very supportive family, and they never really, it was never really taught traditional gender roles or what girls have to be like this or this is what that is. So within my family, it was okay, but I found that I had to do multiple comings out in my careers. When I first got into stunts, I felt like it was really important to just fit in and be like everyone else to get the jobs, but I ended up having to really withhold a piece of myself, which, if you know, when it comes to like building community, you can tell when someone's not bringing all of themselves to a situation, and it doesn't really make you want to trust them or connect with them. So eventually I went, well, what's the worst that can happen, you know, and was very open about who I am within stunts. And then when I started racing, it was sort of the same thing all over again. I never pretended not to be gay, but people just assume, right? And when I decided to become professional, when I earned my license and decided to go pro, I had to call all of the small amount of sponsors that I had to say, hey, I'm going to work with this organization, Racing Pride. I think it's really important. I had never seen, like, I Googled all the gay race car drivers, you know, anything I could think of to try to find people doing the thing that I wanted to do that were anything like me. And I couldn't find any. So I made all those phone calls to my sponsors and I said, hey, it's really important to me that I work with this organization, Racing Pride. And I want to give you the opportunity to back out. And I can tell you this didn't feel good. It was a scary conversation to have. And I did have one sponsor who said, yeah, you know, I don't think I'm comfortable with my company logo and a pride flag on the same car. So
that's sad.
You know, that honestly, that broke my heart. It was really awful, but he did call me back a few days later and say, you know what, I've thought about it and I changed my mind. I really want to work with you. I think it's really important. I like what you're doing. And so that was an emotional roller coaster, but it made me realize that maybe I can actually participate in changing what this sport looks like and what a motorsport athlete looks like. So that's part of the reason why I started something called You Are Welcome to Formula Drift, which is about welcoming people from the LGBTQ community into Formula Drift to let them fall in love with it. Motorsport, I think as a queer person, you're not like, oh, this is a space where I can go and bring my whole self. You know, there are certain stereotypes about the motorsport community, about people who are really into cars. And it's not that they're very accepting. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think that we have to work to change it. So for me, the coming out is actually like that for me. I hosted that event in April at Long Beach, and it really was a very public coming out because even though I'm open about it on social media and in all publicity, a lot of people don't assume that I'm gay just by looking at me. So
fair statement.
So that was a very public, yeah, you know, and so I even had people contacting me and going, oh, it's really cool that you're doing this. Are you gay? And I was like, no, yes. I would love it if someone was such a strong ally that they would host this kind of event. But it really did feel a little bit, again, like, could this be career suicide? But actually, some incredible companies stepped up to support it. Bosch, Pennzoil, Formula Drift themselves really helped make this like an incredible event. And
thank God for you.
I'm
breaking
hoping
barriers.
to get to do more of them.
Kudos to you. Yeah. So tell us about Racing Pride. What is your goal with that?
So Racing Pride was founded by a gay race car driver in the UK. And basically the organization exists to promote LGBTQ plus representation within motorsport. Basically saying we exist both in the car and around the car, and to create a more welcoming environment so more people feel comfortable in the space. That's sort of the loose goal of Racing Pride, and it's really expanded a lot. I think it's been around for about 4 years. They're now partnered with a few F1 teams that are on board, and it's just very cool to see. Now I think Lewis Hamilton has a pride flag on his helmet, and in terms of bringing new fans to the space and just making the people who are already there feel safe, it's enormous. I've had so many people reach out to me privately and say, hey, people don't know this about me, but I'm gay. And I'm working in this space. I love motorsport. And it just makes me feel so good to know that maybe there's a space for all of me here.
Are these two organizations, are they really focused on adults, or are you also focused on children coming up and being interested in the sports?
So I think basically athletes at all levels of sport need to see that representation. And Racing Pride, basically all the athlete ambassadors are professional athletes, same with Athlete Ally, but they also provide resources for people at all levels in all sports.
Well, kudos to you. You certainly have a fan in me. And now I've learned something, and
Thank
I
you very
can
much.
pay attention to this. One of my most fabulous days, I was at motorsport, the motorcycle racing in Italy. And it was so cool to watch and dangerous. Not as dangerous as what you do.
But they get to wear cool leather.
Yes, they do, to protect themselves. Yes, we're into leather,
Yeah.
so to speak. No women drivers, as I recall. So maybe you have to do that next. What do you think?
I mean,
you
I'll take it on.
started with a motorcycle
racing.
early on.
I did. I love riding motorcycles. Motorcycle racing is incredible. I will say there are a few very incredible young women who are coming up through racing that I would love to follow the careers of and support their careers. Not to say I wouldn't like to race motorcycles, but I feel like they might be a little closer to the international level than I am.
Wow. And I know the really good drivers, they're practically on the ground when they go around the curves.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool to watch. Well, kudos to you. So here you have a divorce attorney and a orthopedic surgeon who turned entrepreneur shoe designer. Do you have a question for us? I know that's a strange combo.
Well, I have lots of shoe questions, some of which I think we're going to have to continue, off the recording. But I want to know, how do I get the two of you into a drift car?
Ooh,
Oh.
I'm there. I know my son.
Two options.
He would be knocking me out of the way.
I would do
I
it
like
slowly.
dangerous things. I like dangerous things. So
Yes,
it's
she
okay.
does, but she's an incredible athlete. I mean, this is going to come across as sexist, but she skis like a man. I'm a little more of a
received
scaredy
that
cat
feedback.
if I think I can get hurt, but I would try it slowly. That's as much
Would
as you'll
you
get out of me.
trust a professional driver to give you a ride along, for instance?
Yes, if it's not too fast or I'll throw up.
I want to go.
Well, I would love
I'm
to
there.
give both of you a ride along and also invite you to one of the events that's happening in Los Angeles later in the year. I think that'd be a very cool opportunity to share the sport.
Well, you're going to get an invitation from me. Taryn doesn't know about this yet, but she knows what I do every summer. So, yeah, because you're really cool. I don't know. I feel this connection here, and I want to get to know you better. So, thank you. You've been wonderful, and
Thank you.
George will keep you posted on this, and with the connection between all of our Instagrams, etc. So a very, very special thank you to you and to Taryn and everybody who's listening, spending some of your precious time with us as Stacy Phillips and Friends. You can watch on my YouTube channel at Stacy Phillips, or download the show wherever you watch your podcasts. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, which then George will make sure is connected to both, because I know I'm connected to Taryn, at Stacy D. Phillips Esquire, or connect on LinkedIn. And see you again soon, not soon enough. And remember, love will always be in fashion.